So, as we heard Dr. Chandra in the morning, he was presenting an overview of Hindu heritage, and now he is with us to talk about gifts of Hindus to the humanity and to the entire world, to the two generations actually. So it is going to be a very interesting topic, and hope you will be taking notes, and you have already invited few of your friends to enjoy and to learn from these sessions. So let us invite Dr. Chandra. Please, Dr. Chandra, you are welcome to our session 3 of the day 1.
Thank you. And namaste, everybody. Nice to be here again for the second time in the day, this afternoon. And the topic is gifts of Hindus to humanity. This show is, if we say our Hindu dharma is Sanatan dharma, eternal. That is what is the principles of that supreme being, Ishwar. If it is exactly that way, then its evidence has to be there. And what can be better evidence if this truly is Manav Dharma and is spreading into all the arms of the humanity. Knowingly or unknowingly, people are embracing all the wonderful ideas that took birth from the Satya Sanatan Vedic Dharma. So if it is a universal thought process, like in the age of science, we are accustomed to scientific principles that are universally acceptable. Scientists in America, in Europe, in India, Japan, all scientists accept certain scientific principles, and not blindly, because they can test in their own laboratories and confirm that indeed there is evidence that this principle is right. And if we can say that that is what is valid with Sanatan Vedic Dharma, that will be the evidence that naturally it diffuses into all the parts of the humanity. So these are not just principles that govern the matter. These are the principles that govern matter as well as consciousness. That we, the human beings, animals, birds, and so many other marine species and all other kinds of species, we all are conscious beings. And these are the laws that govern all of us. So that is the universal framework. You can call it universal science of matter as well as consciousness. So it is, the point I'm trying to make is our young boys and girls, young men and women have to take the leadership. They have to become the future leaders of science, where science is treating its terminal points. They have to extend those limits and in particular explore what this consciousness is, which is still a riddle for the mainstream science. Tentatively, they are saying it is the resultant output of the functioning of the brain. But as you will see, hopefully in the summer camp, that we are body, mind, and soul. That almost everybody is talking. That is a gift of Hindu thought process to the world, that we are body, mind, and soul. But actually, that is not our total description. Our body and mind are governed, are made to function as if I am the owner of my body and mind, because certain background forces are working. Even as we go to sleep, certain background forces are always working. They are called as pranic forces, is it not? We have 5 prana: prana, apan, vyan, saman, udan. Approximating with our nervous system, cardiac system, respiratory system, digestive system, and renal system. So mainstream medical science also says that these 5 systems are so crucial. If they stop functioning, we will collapse immediately. Is it not? That's what is pranic forces. So we are not just body, mind, and soul. Body and mind are juxtaposed by something called pranic forces. So you might have heard, maybe in one of the 40 sessions, we will cover the idea of Panchakosh, which is very important. That describes the whole universe from a very interesting and motivational perspective. So the body is Annamaya Kosh, the pranic forces are centered in Pranamaya Kosh, and what we call mind has outer mind that activates our motor organs, that is called Manomaya Kosh. And then there is another inner mind that brings in the knowledge from outside world, that is called as Vijnanmaya Kosh. And then finally, that is the beauty of Vedic Dharma. We are closest to us is Anandamaya. So that is what, in one word, yoga is to transcend from Annamaya to Pranamaya to Manomaya to Vijnanmaya and be in Anandamaya Kosh. You see? So this Panchakosh description is very interesting. So what we are seeing is, not only we have given to the world body, mind, and soul, that is not complete. We are body, pranic forces, mind, and soul. So this is the owner of body and mind, but it can use them only if pranic forces are working. And what is that? That is Ishwar's way to enable me live in the world. When he says time is up, then pranic forces diminish. And then I have to depart from this system, isn't it? So death is departure of me from this system. Of course, scientists are also right. If brain has stopped functioning, I am no more conscious. But Vedic scientists will say, when brain is no more functioning, I, the owner of the body and mind, depart from the system because it is no more a livable system. So there is a slight matter of semantics. So you can see the mainstream science and Vedic science are not far apart. It is just mainstream science has to take a couple of more steps. At this point, they are saying consciousness is resultant of the functions of the brain. Actually, consciousness is inside the brain in a very tiny cave. That is where I am residing, called as Purush or Atma Tattva, isn't it? So we are very close to science, and this being the age of science, obviously we have a lot to offer, And we have already offered a lot, not to talk about mathematics, geometry, physics of Vaisheshik Baikanad, the concepts of atoms. You know, we have a huge lot, which I am sure there will be a lot of discussion on what we have gifted to the world: astronomical sciences, earth sciences, and you talk of anything. We have a lot to offer, and we have offered agriculture, science, and many other things. At this point, in this particular hour, I want to concentrate on some of the very conceptual points so that you are able to appreciate it. That yes, we belong to a legacy, a heritage that has offered a lot and can further offer a lot. One is very simple, that is logical thinking. That relationship between cause and effect. That's what modern science is very proud of. That is logic and rationality. And that is what is our Nyaya Darshan. Nyaya Darshan is first formal book on logic. That of course is based on the 6 books are called as Upanga. They are the sublimbs of the Vedas. They take their roots from the Vedas and formulate a particular scheme in a very interesting logical manner. So Nyaya Darshan, authored by Gautam, it and that is the beauty. And look at it. It illustrates its logical principles by arguing that yes, there indeed is in this universe is made of matter and is made by a super intelligent consciousness, Ishwar, and is for all of us, not only human beings, but animals, birds, everybody, all the conscious species. So all the conscious beings have 3 inherent powers, isn't it? That's what consciousness is. That's what makes us different from all the other things in the world, like the wood here, that is the wooden desk I am using. I am sitting on a wooden chair. This is made of wood. Yes, something is matter that lacks consciousness. Even if I hit the desk, it doesn't complain because it doesn't feel the pain. But if somebody hits me, I feel the pain of it, is it not? So I am a conscious being, whereas this wooden desk lacks consciousness. That is made of matter, what we said, only Annamaya Kosh. It has no panic domain, it has no mind domain, and nothing to talk about Anandamaya. So this is at a very low level of existence, is it not? When we get to the plants and trees, that is one more complexity, namely panic domain. They exchange air with atmosphere. They take in carbon dioxide and emit oxygen. So there is a cyclic phenomenon. Then Manomaya Kosha. But the point I was trying to make, borrowing from Gautam's Nyaya Darshan, is what he says is, if there is anything is made, there is always a maker. Suppose I walk into one new room for the first time and I see a wooden desk there. Then I begin to think, where did it come from? So that is the analytical way to think. We have seen the effect, namely the wooden desk is an effect, and an intelligent human being is asking, where did it come from? What are possible causes of it? Obviously, first thing that strikes to him is, without wood, this couldn't have been made. Yes, You need certain pieces of wood or a log of wood for that to be transformed into a wooden desk. But we know it, if there is a log of wood, we can wait 100 years, it doesn't itself get transformed into a wooden desk. Some human being has to act upon it. He must be intelligent. He has the design of the desk in his mind. Maybe on a drawing paper he has made it. And he has the ability in his hands and other limbs of the body to pick up the pieces of wood, act with certain specialized tools, cut into pieces, put them together by nail and hammer and so on and so forth, and make a wooden desk, is it not? Oh, besides log of wood, an intelligent human being who is a conscious human being, we call him as carpenter. Carpenter is also an essential cause for the existence of that wooden desk, as much as a log of wood. Both together must be there. One without another cannot make wooden desk, is it not? So this inquiry about possible causes of a simple effect, that is a man-made thing, what we are in day-to-day life, we come across so many man-made things in our household, outside world, everywhere. A simple thinking tells us a wooden desk has to have two causes. One is called material cause, that is wood, log of wood, that has no feeling. When you cut it into pieces, it doesn't complain. It lacks consciousness. The other cause is called agental cause. First cause, the maker, carpenter, who doesn't go through any transformation, visibly not much, in the one day when he makes the wooden desk. But wooden log has gone through massive transformation. That piece of log is no more visible in that form. It has become totally different, a wooden desk. But then somebody thinks hard. Why did carpenter make it? Why would he make it? It's not that he is sitting in his shop or in workshop and just out of the blue he thinks, I should make one wooden desk. He makes it when somebody like me and you place an order, or we express our intention. If you make a good wooden desk, we may like it, we may buy it. So either we place an order in advance, or we express our desire, intention, that yes, we are interested in a wooden desk. So the carpenter gets an order, he makes it in that particular design, and one day he's ready with this. So if nobody wanted it, he wouldn't have made it. Or somebody can say he could have made it for himself. Maybe he also needs a wooden desk. But whatever he is, there is always an end user, isn't it? Somebody is going to use it. Otherwise, why would he make a wooden desk? So now we understand there are three causes. The log of wood that got transformed into it, it lacks consciousness. The maker of the wooden desk, namely a carpenter, he has to be a conscious being. He has to have knowledge. And he has to be able to act upon wood. He can do action. And then third is some sort of a hidden cause or end user. And he must also be a conscious being, that he will enjoy the wooden desk. He likes to use it. These three entities together are responsible for the existence of wooden desk. But then if you think hard, there are some more causes, is it not? They are called as, so in Sanskrit terms, these three causes have certain names. So wood is called as upadan karan, meaning it is material cause that itself gets through transformation in the process of making a thing A out of B. Now B is no more visible. It has transformed into A. This is called, the carpenter here is called as nimittakar, agental cause. He himself doesn't go through any kind of transformation, but he causes the transformation. And he is a conscious being. He must be intelligent with the knowledge, and he has the ability to act upon the material cause. The third is hidden cause, the end user, who is going to enjoy it, is it not? So that is in Sankhya Darshan, which is a predecessor of Gautam, Nyaya. He says anything in the world, when they are brought together, there is always a conscious beneficiary. So there is always a conscious being who is going to benefit out of anything we do, anything we do. If we make a phone, some human being will use. Even a bird making a nest for itself, the bird is the end. And in this case, a wooden desk, a human being is. The same carpenter could have made a dog house when a dog is the end user, is it not? But there is always a conscious being. That is powerful statement by Sankhya, that anything is brought together for a conscious being. And then there are three more causes. They are so general, they are everywhere. That would be here space. Carpenter needs some space to make work on these things. Some time. He cannot make it wooden desk in time zero. There will be some time will lapse when that log of wood get transformed into wooden desk. And then certain tools he needs, is it not? So all these are called as sadharan karan, ordinary cause, that are always there, anything. Now we will understand these three prominent causes: wood, carpenter, and we human being as end user, for a particular effect, namely wooden desk, that I see for the first time. I never saw who the carpenter was making, but I can say with 100% confidence, there must have been a human being, whether you call him carpenter or not, or maybe he was a very ordinary person, interested out of his hobby, he made it. Okay, whatever you call it, but there was a conscious human being who made that wooden desk, is it not? And then an end user. Now these two are conscious beings. One has knowledge and action. Another conscious being has ability to enjoy it, is it not? Now that's where the Vedic Rishi comes into picture. He is Vedic scientist. He says, if there are three causes behind a simple man-made object, namely wooden desk, that we might not have seen when it was in making, but we are very confident about it, then this law of cause and effect must be valid for other things also. So he is confident that all other things, namely the natural world, the river and mountain, the plants and trees, and the lakes and oceans, stars and galaxies, the sun and the moon, all these are effects, things. Now, what are the causes of this? So he clubs them all this together. He calls it as Srishti, universe. And he says we can never know exactly who made it, why he made, how did he make it. Because we all appeared in this world when all this was made. But then he says, we have learned some logical principles that every effect has to have three causes. So now what are the three causes? So he makes an identical statement from what he sees from the man-made world, namely carpenter makes the wooden desk out of wood for an end user. Now he says Ishwar makes the universe out of matter for all of us, all conscious beings. So the wood is replaced by wooden desk. Now the effect is the entire world, universe. Now wooden desk was made of wood. That was the material cause. Now he says this Srishti, the entire universe, is made out of matter. So what is matter? He is saying if anything is broken to its last pieces, that is the definition of matter. Smallest part. Of course, we cannot break by using a chisel. But he says in your mind, you can imagine that everything is broken into finality. Then that will be an ocean of smallest particles. You call it atoms, quark, or whatever, that God particle, nowadays there are new names. Whatever name you have, he says, ocean of that particle, he gives it a name, Prakriti. And like carpenter transform the wood, the intelligent consciousness, who transformed the matter into this universe, he gives it a name as Ishwar, who has all the knowledge and who has all the capacity. So his knowledge is special, it's called Iddha. And his action is special because he doesn't need hands and feet and all these things. That is called tapas. His action is different. His karma is different. So itan satyancha vidhat tapaso adhyajayat. That's what is Rigveda saying. So it is the governing principles of the universe that sustain the Satya is this visible world. Satya is the world, universe, that is governed by invisible principles. And this has been brought into existence by the Iddha and Tapas of that Ishwar. Jnana and Karma, knowledge and action. And this third entity, the end user, is we all are conscious beings. Human beings, animals, birds, etc. So this logical framework comes from our Vedic heritage, and that is well adopted by the whole scientific world, that nothing is made out of nothing. And no mass, no matter can be created or destroyed. That is the famous principles of conservation of mass, the matter. And that's what is Vedic scientist is saying. Matter is always there. Matter gets transformed into Srishti, And when it has gone haywire, entropy has gone beyond our control, then that super intelligent Ishwar will make it all back to where it started from. That is called as Pralay. Kind of recycling. Then the matter is brought back to its super fine, quiet state. That is called Arnava. Tata Samudrat Arnavat. So next mantra is Samudrat Arnavat Samvatsaro Vajay. Then he makes time. Then he makes space. Surya Chandra Masoda. The whole philosophy of how this world comes into being has been covered in the Vedas, and in particular, there is a Nasadi Sutta. So when you go, I am sure you will find very interesting things in the many sections of the Vedas. But let's proceed further. What are the gifts of this analytical thinking that just somebody said, come into being, and like a magical one, and the world came into being? No, it has gone through a very particular process, very specific process, and then it is sustained by certain forces, the precise forces. The earth moves around the sun in an elliptical form, completing the orbit 365 days, certain hours, certain minutes and seconds, in a very, very precise manner. Nothing is arbitrary here, is it not? Now, of course, so we have heard three basic entities: Prakriti in place of wood, Ishwar in place of carpenter, and Jivatma in place of the end user. That is same for human beings, animals, birds, all this. So these tiny souls have three extraordinary powers. What are they? Knowledge, action, and experience. This is called as Jnana, Karma, and Bhog. And for that to be realized, we have the instruments of body and mind, so that we can acquire knowledge, go through the experience. Of course, everybody wants sukh, but there is always some dukh is always there in life. And to get away from dukh towards sukh, we do some actions. We work hard so that our life is pleasant. So Jnana, Bhog, and Karma, knowledge, experience, and action are non-stop process, except when we go to sleep. But sometimes, you know it, even when we sleep, our mind is functioning. We have dreams. We would like our mind to relax, have a good deep sleep, delta sleep, deep dreamless sleep. In our philosophy, we call it Sushupti. Sushupti is very important in Vedic philosophy. No dream, so that mind also feels relaxed. But remember always, we are able to use body and mind because Pran is functioning. And that Pran is very easy to identify. Even when I am in deep sleep, whatever is happening is attributed to Pran. So Pran is like that Supreme Mother. She is always, I am always in her lap, whether I realize it or not. If she withdraws her hand, I will collapse. No more life, is it not? So that is the life force. So this is our framework of we as human being, composite of body, mind, and soul, made functional by constant background forces of Pran, that is her blessing to me so that life is sustained. And for me to achieve something, is it not? Now, of course, all this sounds okay. Logically, it may be good, but in the age of science, finally, we need evidence, is it not? What is the evidence of Ishwar? It makes sense. Yes, he is the maker in the place of carpenter. But what is the evidence? Because without evidence, you cannot say you are on the side of science. So we have to find something. And that is very important for us to understand. So we offer twofold arguments. That is evidence of Ishwar. One fold argument is very easy for our young children, boys and girls, to identify. Teenagers or even younger than. If you recall, first time you spoke a lie, and it will be nice if one of you says, in my life, I have never said a word lie to my parents or to anybody else. I have always been truthful. You are a very good person. But we know it. My name is Harishchandra. There is a lot of story with this name, Raja Satyavadi Harishchandra. And that name that my parents gave me did inspire me a lot. I have tried my best to lead my life truthfully. But to be honest, I must have said a number of few times what is not truthful, is it not? Sometimes, as a father to a child, if you don't eat it, food, policeman will come and catch you, is it not? This is a lie. No policeman comes and catches a child if you are not eating well. But as a father, we say something of this type to our children, is it not? So I am sure sometime you are able to recall when you did something wrong that was not in accordance with Manav Dharma that we have discussed in the morning. So when we go against, we misuse the freedom. Ishwar tells us, Ishwar tells me, I expect you to follow my guideline, the Manav Dharma. But imagine a child, 8-year-old, 10-year-old. He bakes a valuable glass piece in his home. Just somehow it fell down from his elbow, broke into two pieces. He begins to wonder, what should I say? But thankfully, it broke just into two pieces. So what he does is, he somehow brings them together as if it is intact. But the mother is always all-knowing. She finds out it is broken into two pieces. And she calls the child, how did it break? Now the boy is in a dilemma. So there are some such incidents. You will be able to recall if you spoke a lie or did something wrong. But when you are about to do this wrong, there was a slight agitation in your mind. This is very important to notice, at least in our childhood. And if you begin to overlook it, that is very dangerous sign. So we call it conscience. It's some kind of inner voice. When you do something wrongdoing for the first time, then there is an inner voice that warns you that you should not do this. Your mother is asking you a question. You know the answer. You know the truth. You should speak truthfully. That inner voice guides you like this. And if you have the courage, then you accept this. You accept this advice. And then you are on the path of dharma. Then suppose sometime later again this sort of a thing happens. Again there is slight tendency to deviate from manav dharma. Again that inner voice comes again. But you will see many adults, people of my age. Certainly there are some hardcore criminals. They will say, I don't hear any inner voice. Oh, why don't you hear? I hear it so often, many times. He says, no, I don't hear that. The criminal will say like that. But then you have to ask him, first time you did the crime, the first time in your teenager life or even childhood, you did something wrong. Don't you remember there was an inner voice? He will scratch his head, but then finally he has to admit, yes, there was an inner voice. But now I don't, because I am used to overlooking that. I don't bother. But the point we are making is every human being, when attempting to deviate from the right path, righteous conduct, that's what dharma is, listens a warning sign within himself. Now, if something happens within everybody, if it happens among people in India but not in people in Pakistan, then that is not natural. But if it happens in all the children in India, Japan, Pakistan, America, Europe, everywhere, then we say this is a natural phenomenon. If it is natural phenomenon, that is one way of science saying, instead of saying Ishwar does it, mainstream science says nature does it. But it's just a matter of semantics, is it not? You can replace the word Ishwar by nature, no harm. But you are saying the same thing as I am saying. I say Ishwar does it. Ishwar speaks to all children when they attempt, when they begin to think in terms of deviating from the righteous conduct. Some scientists, social scientists, or some other scientist will say that is natural, nature does it. I will say Ishwar does it. It's the same thing. So we are saying this is evidence number one about Ishwar. He exists within every one of us. And when there is such a difficult dilemma we are facing, he is guiding us, he is warning us. Very important. It's not my mother warning me. It's not because they cannot be with me everywhere at all times. But Ishwar is with me anywhere I go to, and Ishwar is with me at all times. So he wants me because he wants my good interest. He is my true father and mother. He is interested most in my well-being. So he does give me the freedom, but still he guides me also. And also warns me, look, the consequences will be bad. If you start telling a lie to your mother, you will lose your mother's trust. That will be very, very harmful in your life. He is warning you, is it not? So, of course, we should always hear this conscience. That is very important. But that is just evidence number one. Evidence number two is when we disconnect from our body, mind, then this soul, the owner of body and mind, is by itself. That we saw. And all of you, everyone in the world has experienced what we call sushupti. Deep, dreamless sleep. When we come out of that naturally, no alarm clock, nobody is shaking us. We come out of it naturally. We feel that was good sleep. I feel so light. I feel so relaxed. Is it not? Then somebody may ask you, what was happening in the sleep? Any dream, any sweet dreams? No, there was nothing. It was deep, dreamless sleep. Body-wise, I was doing nothing. Mind-wise, I was doing nothing. Blank. Oh, but that is fantastic. You never feel any pain in deep, dreamless sleep, is it not? Even doctors know it. If a patient is in deep, dreamless sleep, let's not disturb him. He is going through the best healing, natural healing. Ishwar is healing him. Let's not disturb him. We will do some action when he is out of sleep. So Sushupti, deep, dreamless sleep, is a wonderful gift, void of any pain or misery. But you should remember it. Your body and mind both are inactive, thoroughly non-functional. So that's where our Vedic rishis came up with an idea. In the daytime, with some practice over my mind, if I can bring my mind calm, that is what is called practice of meditation, etc. That mind is almost inactive, blank mind, as it happens in deep, dreamless sleep. Then they gave it a name, Samadhi. That will be like that. So the common denominator between Sushupti and Samadhi is body and mind are inactive thoroughly. Nothing is happening in. But there is a difference also. In Sushupti, you have no awareness. When you come out of Sushupti, you say, that was good. But in Samadhi, there is blank mind, but you preserve your self-awareness, which is difficult to describe. That's why they call it Tujiya Avastha, fourth state. They say it's difficult to describe. You want to know it, you have to go through it. Nobody can explain to you what is happening there. So that is what is described about Samadhi. And that's why there is a term Anandamaya Kosh. That time you are in Anandamaya. It is an out of the world experience. It is not Sukh, not Shanti. There is a very different term for that state, Anand. And then our Vedic Rishi is saying, Ishwar is Satchidananda Swarup. So you are in closest proximity of him, and now you can feel being with him, and that is what is Anand. So, in brief, that is the evidence of Ishwar that you are with him. Theoretically, we can speak more about it, but this is something, this can be an experimental process. And we should, indeed, Hindu philosophers, Vedic philosophers, have to make scientific community aware of that scientists can also do this kind of experiment, where the laboratory is their own system. And it's very simple. Benchmark is Sushupti, deep, dreamless sleep. If you somehow get to that state, you feel something unusual. And that unusual thing is very good. That's why it is called Anand. Now the argument is simple. If that Anand was your own attribute, you will always be in Anand, is it not? But then you have to admit No, I am not always in Anand. When I am functioning with my body and mind, I go through a swing, mood swings, this and that, so many kind of changes happening. I am not always in Anand. Then the argument goes, in Samadhi, that Anand, you got it, you borrowed it from somebody else, and that somebody else is Ishwar. So that becomes the evidence number 2 for Ishwar. So, we have theoretical prescriptions that how most of these things are in the mainstream science nowadays. The logical thinking, the logical experimentation processes, but we have to talk more about it so that mainstream science can adopt some new and new stages. Many of these things, like meditation, is now well accepted, but meditation is not going that far as in Anandamaya Kosh. So meditation, we call it dhyan, samadhi is next. So we have to talk. The whole world is now taking interest in dhyan, is it not? That's a big gift of this. And what I have talked about samadhi is my union of mind with Ishwar. That's what is yoga. And at least the term yoga has become very, very well known in the world. That is an important gift. So meditation, dhyan, and yoga are two powerful gifts from Hindu heritage to the whole world. Of course, the world has not accepted in its true correct form and not to the logical end. That is our job that we have to carry forward, is it not? Next thing I want to talk, will not take much time, quick, law of karma. This is well accepted now that what goes around comes around. There may be some time gap, but common man, they may not be a Hindu. In their books of religion, there is no such law of karma. There are certain religions where they give a license, you do anything to kafir. No harm will come. You will go to Jannah. But in Hindu religion, no. If you do wrong to anybody, that wrong will fall on you also. So we talk in terms of ahimsa, not to hurt anyone. If you have hurt somebody, that hurt will come upon you also. Is it not? And that's what, even today, though India has gone through massive decline, I talked this morning, particularly Mahabharata and since then. But even today, we are proud of the fact India is the most vegetarian country. Though vegetarian is diminishing there, but this is the challenge for all of us. We want vegetarianism to progress further. India to become more, not only India, the whole world to become more and more vegetarian. Sensitive to others' feeling, sensitive to pain to others. Is it not? That's what is ahimsa. We don't want to cause pain particularly when other wonderful alternatives are there. We can eat so many things without causing or killing a bird, an animal, a fish. We don't have to kill them for food. There's plenty this earth has to offer. And then it is in the name of religion, it is so horrible. Some are killing animals, but killing also in the most brutal form. In a very slow, they call it halal. Giving torture until the last point. That is the worst crime. And in the name of Ishwar, no. We cannot imagine such things. You should never let your conscience go down like that level. You should feel the pain of others, like that is the pain. That's what Patanjali says, Matti, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha. Compassion, love, Karuna, Ahimsa. Out of his 5 yam, that is the topmost. Ahimsa, Satya, Aste, Brahmacharya, Apaigya. Ahimsa, some people now translate into English as non-violence. That is a slightly narrowed down definition. Ahimsa means not to hurt. Sometimes you can hurt just by words that may not look violent. You may not even raise your voice, but you are taunting somebody and you have hurt somebody's feelings. Is it not? It may not look violent, but that is hinsa. So ahimsa has a very broad meaning, not to hurt, not even by thoughts, manasa vacha karma, not to hurt by action, not to hurt by word, and not to even have ill thoughts about others. Because that thought will one day come out of you as word or even as actions. So our understanding of ahimsa is very, very broad. And we want to live by that by example. So if you are truly a Hindu, ahimsa has to be part of your life. Cannot get away from it. This is what has survived our tradition for so long. But it pains us, that India is also going downslide when it comes to ahimsa. It should not be happening like this. We have many other things to offer, and we have already offered. Varna Vyavastha. After we finish our education, Varna is we select our careers. We are very mindful that a community has nourished me, has developed me to this point. Now I am a graduate. Physically and intellectually well developed. Now it's time for me to give back to my community. So we talked about dukh, pain. No individual should suffer from pain and misery. And no community should also suffer as a collective body due to any sort of hardships, etc. The Vedic rishis thought about all this. Where does the pain to a community, to a nation comes from? They identified 3 factors. Ajnan, that is lack of knowledge, wrong knowledge. If our people are not well educated, we will be in pain and suffering forever. Any uneducated society can never aspire to go to the fullest potential of human beings. Even though we have knowledge, some strong person can do injustice to a weaker person. Injustice can be painful, and that is called anyaya. And the third factor is abhav, scarcity of things. In this COVID atmosphere, we have seen if something is not available easily in a store because of supply chain disruption, then that is very disturbing. So there should be no scarcity of particularly the essential commodities such as food, groceries, etc. Ajnan, anyaya, and abhav. These are 3 big enemies for any nation, any community. So they told their children, when you grow up, when you have gone through the process of education. You make up your mind based on your own education, your knowledge, your skills, and your inclination, your personal interests. You want to fight the enemy number one of ajnan, or injustice, or scarcity of commodity. Ajnan, anyaya. They gave it three names: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya. That is your chosen profession. And that's what the whole world does, is it not? This is the Vedic mechanism. There is no society in the world, there is no country in the world where we do not find teachers and educators and researchers engaged in knowledge, discovery, and research. There are no police or judicial processes to get injustice away. There are no proper business, farming, and so many other things for production and trade of commodities and stores as retail house, etc. To disseminate all that people need. Is it not? Every society has people engaged in one of these three professions. Is it not? This whole professional outlook, division of labor, it doesn't exist among animals. It is for the human society, has its origin in the Vedas, that we are free to adopt our career planning. Our focus should be, I want to fight ajnan, anyaya, or abhav. And suppose there are always some school dropouts, college dropouts, they will always be, and they have always been. They choose the service sector. They say, we were not that qualified that we could be so enterprising, but we will assist these people by all means. They were the Shudra. It's not a degrading. They are all like four pillars. No, none of them is bigger, better than others. All the four pillars are equal. If one of them is shaking, the whole society, whole powerful, even superpower will collapse in no time. We have to respect all these four classes of, and our education must ensure and that every human being becomes a productive member of the community by following one of these four, whatever he is good at. Everything is open, no discrimination, no favor. That is our Varna Vyavastha, which has gone wide in all the parts of the country, all the parts of the world. No part in the world, no nation can say we can administer our nation with one of them missing. Nobody can claim it. Same thing with ashram Vyavastha. This is four pillars of community. Then an individual's life has four phases. Brahmacharya for self-development, both physical, intellectual, educational, like our young boys and girls. Their parents will say, you focus on yourself. We will give you all support. Don't worry about other things. Because this is your time to focus on yourself. That's called Brahmacharya ashram. If typical lifespan is 100 years, nominally 25 years for all these four phases. You concentrate self-development, moral values, good qualities, good physique, intellectually strong. Is it not? All that a good young man and young woman ought to be, is it not? That is Brahmacharya. Don't do other things. There is a lot of time for other things. Now that you are young man, young woman, you have graduated. Now, this word Vyavastha I just talked, that is relevant only in the second phase of life. In Brahmacharya ashram, everybody is equal. Now in Grihastha ashram, one who is in Brahma, education sector, this and that. Then these 4 divisions come in. And that's what our boys and girls do. When they graduate, they choose their career. Is it not? That is what is Varna Vyavastha. And accordingly, they find their life path. Who will be my life companion? So that's the time to get married. And you have to work something you have to do. That is your profession. You give back to the community, and then community gives you some in terms of money or whatever it is, so that you can manage the affairs of your family. So now Grihastha ashram, that is householder. So now it is union of young man and woman that gives rise to the birth of next generation. We want always next generation to be the better than our present generation. That is what is the goals and objectives of young mother and father. So that is family development. And then the next phase is retirement. That is called Vanprastha. When you let the next generation take over all the affairs of the, all these Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya. Now you are back to all. Now nobody is Varna. All that is in your Grihastha, your working phase of life. Now, just like in Brahmacharya ashram, everybody was same. Vanprastha ashram, everybody is same. Now you try to do something for your community. Of course, as your profession, you did it, but in a more formal manner. Now maybe you volunteer or you go to some ashram and do your own some spiritual pursuits. Now your focus is not just family, the whole community. And then some of them go to sannyas, then his orbit is still wider enough, whole humanity, is it not? They roam around, they want to share the words of wisdom with everybody else for everybody's well-being. So ashram vyavastha is also seen. Everywhere there is student life, family life, retirement. Maybe sannyas is missing, but ashram vyavastha is everywhere. That is Vedic heritage, legacy we have given to the whole world so that an individual passes through certain sections for his own further development. Of course, in our case, it is dharma, arth, kama, moksha. So sannyas is going to take me into moksha, but nowadays, in general, people are working for dharma, arth, kama. No, not many people are interested in moksha. So sannyas is kind of a missing. I've already talked about ahimsa at length. I could talk more, many other things, but I think time is moving faster than I could have imagined. And many of these issues, and certain issues I have left out intentionally because the time is limited, will be covered at greater length in this particular camp, and more time will be devoted. But I hope I have given you a glimpse of something that you can be proud of, that what Vedic heritage has gifted already to the world and is capable of gifting many, many more things. And you can be an instrument in those kind of affairs, in those kind of pursuits. Thank you very much for your attention. Any question, we can discuss more in the next few minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra. I invite everyone, if you have any question, please raise your hand or please write your question in the chat box. Or if you can talk clearly in a louder way, please ask your question.
Yeah, there is a question from Jaita Hansji. She's saying the cause to a collective body what we call as a community. Cause of pain is in three Sanskrit terms were ajnan, anyay, and abhav. Meaning ajnan is lack of true knowledge, or it can be wrong knowledge that we must get away from. Anyay is injustice. That can be cause of pain. We are all familiar with it. And the third is abhav, scarcity of physical things that we are dependent upon, particularly the essential things like food and water and many other things. So abhav is scarcity of commodities. That was the third cause of the pain to a community.
Thank you. Any other?
There is an interesting question. Could eating plants be considered as hinsa? This is a very valid question because plants do have the life force, as I said, is a pranamaya kosh, is it not? But the total description is it's in permanent what is called sushupti. So the way they lead their life is they have no experience of sukha, dukha, whatever it is called. So there is no hinsa. Or I will say, just like in a case of microorganism, you know, there are billions of microorganisms in my body itself. If I eat something, somebody may say, I have eaten thousands or more than that, millions of microorganisms, but I am not killing them in the sense, for them, my tracks in the body or bloodstream are like super highways. You know, they just pass through that. They don't go through any pleasure or pain. They just stay what they are. So microorganisms, for example, don't go through any experience of sukha or dukh. They are just in uniform state. So is true with the plants. This is one part of the answer. The other part of the answer could be that we have to make a choice whether we are herbivore or carnivore. So when we talk about vegetarianism, the question is not quite whether we should eat plants or not. The question is, are we like cows, horses, goats, and sheep? They are herbivores. Or we are carnivores like cats, dogs, lion, tiger, etc. Or like omnivores, whatever it is. Somebody I could argue that. But I will say, if you analyze our physiology, our mental makeup, even I gave you an idea that in certain communities, somebody is trained as a teenager how to kill an animal in a time-consuming process. This is not natural because naturally no human being likes to kill. So such a thing has to be taught forcibly. You know, this is very unnatural. So we have certain natural tendencies, and our natural tendencies do not go along with killing an animal. If every non-vegetarian person was asked, okay, you go here is a knife, here is a rabbit, and here is a deer, these animals are there, you kill that, cut the meat and go home and cook it. I wonder how many human beings will continue to be non-vegetarian. It's not easy to kill an animal. So the question is, it's not a bad question. We have to accept it. But the right question to frame is, are we herbivore or carnivore? If your inquiry leads to the answer, we are herbivore, then we should not mind eating what a cow and horse is eating. So this question whether we should eat plant or not, rather becomes irrelevant. Yes, it's fine. We are herbivore. So that is another way to look at this. Can we experience the deep sleep? Now, in the next question I am reading, can we experience the deep sleep? Is it equal to the out-of-body experience? Can we travel to other planets in that mode? It's a very good question. This is about Sushupti. When I do not think, as I said, I am a composite of body, pranic forces, mind, and me. My consciousness, that is a point like singularity somewhere here. So I will say Sushupti is a wonderful gift of Ishwar to us, and let us not lose it. Otherwise, we will go through the insomnia and all those problems, sleep disorders, etc. Sleep is very, very important, probably more important than food in our lives, is it not? Without food, I can live 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But please don't do this experiment. Try to live without sleep. Please never do that. Ishwar has made the night for sleep, day to work. If you want to be a dharmic, a good human being, try to be aligned with Ishwar. What he expects you, do it in a very natural manner. So coming back to this question, when you are in Sushupti, this is almost, in a hospital before your operation, an anesthesia expert will administer something. That is coming by way of artificial manner, is it not? Some sort of anesthesia, so that you are disconnect from body and mind. So now when the surgeon will make an incision, you won't feel it because you are disconnect from body. But that has been done in an artificial manner by a certain drug. And we will never recommend any of you to utilize drugs. That is called drug abuse. We don't want such things. We want you to experience Sushupti in a natural manner. Then Ishwar, to give you a good quality relaxation, disconnects you from body. And also that you can check with other when you have a very certain kind of injury, say head injury, then for a few moments you are disconnected. Otherwise, that would have been very, very painful, is it not? That is Ishwar's design. For those moments, you are disconnect from body and mind so that you don't experience what, those horrible things has happened to you. So, coming back to deep sleep, you are in the same cave. You don't physically walk out of the system. It is not out of the body experience. It is very natural, beautiful experience we all have had as a child, and we wish to continue to have it even as an adult. Now there is another supplementary question. Can we travel to other planets in that mode? Not in Sushupti mode, but what you are aiming at is those sort of experience may happen in Samadhi. So in Samadhi, we say there is a Sampajyat Samadhi. Then you have certain knowledge-based experience in your mind. So, this is now not that easy to explain, but in a quick way, I will say, when you are disconnect from body and mind, that is called Niyuddhavastha of Chit, blank mind. Now, this is Ishwar's gift. He wants to give you a particular knowledge flash, and that flash of knowledge may be of some kind, then that appears on your chitta and you get to know it. That is called Sampajyat Yoga or Sampajyat Samadhi. That may be of what is something happening in another planet, but this has nothing to do with Sushupti. Any other question?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Wonderful. So I think it's time to wrap up. I want to thank you, Dr. Chandra, and all of you attending these sessions. And it was very pleasant and very nice to go through these sessions, especially for me too, because we have heard many things about Hindu heritage and their gifts, and most of the people talk about those buildings and structures and arts and these things. But Dr. Chandra just has discussed the things, actually the guidance to the humanity, which will be always relevant to each of the human being in the next thousands and thousands of generations. And that was so wonderful. I think you all have enjoyed this session very much. Our next session, which will, I think we have now 40 minutes break, tea break for all of you. And we will meet again at 4 p.m. Central Time. And our next speaker is Shri Jitendra Rabbiji. He will talk about my experiences. Let me read it out. Yeah, how Upanishads enriched my perception of God. Okay, so we will come again.